You crazy mother.
I just said, yes, man, anything.
All right, folks, so I have an interesting little project that I've been sitting on like a chicken with an egg for about 6 months. So you remember when I did the wood aging experiment with the rum and the whiskey? I'll put a link to it right up there just in case you haven't seen it. One of the wood samples in that kit that I tried was birch, and I had never done anything with birch. One of the people that commented in that video mentioned that this stuff, Slivovitz or Sljivovicka, is sometimes aged on birch. Now, I can't tell if this stuff actually is. It's got a tiny bit of color to it. I looked online, I did some research, and I really couldn't find very much about birch aging this stuff. If you've never had Slivovitz, it is a plum brandy or a plum eau de vie, basically a white brandy. This one's made in Croatia, but they make it in Slovenia, lots of different Eastern European countries. This stuff is aromatic. It is really strong, and I kind of dig it. Somebody left this at my apartment like 15 years ago after a party. It's gone with me for every move for the past 15 years. So, okay, this one, all by itself, wow, it is just straight up plums and alcohol. There's not a whole lot else to it. It is just plums and alcohol punching you right in the schnoz. A little bit of plum blossom, like the fruit tree blossom smell in there too. And the flavor is pretty darn close. It's got a tiny hint of sweetness to it. Not like there's sugar added to it, but just some of that kind of implied sweetness that you get with some fruit spirits. A lot of those big fruit esters come from the heads. They're usually found in the heads. Now, if you pull a lot from the heads when you're doing your blend, you get kind of a hot taste in your throat. There's a little bit of that in this. So what I did is I took that guy's comment and I just kind of ran with it. So I wanted to see what would happen if we took some of those samples of birch, some of the toasted, and then I charred a piece as well and let them sit for 6 or 8 months. I'm really interested to try this stuff. So this is the toasted sample. I'm using Glencairn glasses because you can actually get a ton more flavors that you can pick out in the aroma with these. I always thought that was a bunch of snobbery bullshit, but it's actually true. All right, so let's give it a shot. Wow, that has changed. That is definitely different. The bright, crazy plum in your face is gone. It's still got a very strong fruit character to it, but it's more of a dark fruit, more like prunes, really. So almost like you turn the plums into prunes and then stuck them in a glass. That is interesting. And a lot of dark sugar too. Not like brown sugar with a molasses character, but dark sugar, like cooked sugar, if you were making candy or something. Wow, smooth right out. There is no heat to that whatsoever. I'm also picking up a little bit of almond. There's a little spice to it, maybe some cardamom or something. It's hard to place, but I would say cardamom and almond. Two flavors that definitely were not in there before. I like that. Okay, so let's try the charred birch and see if we got anything different from that one. The brighter plum flavors have come through a little bit. Not as much of the prune that we got from the toasted. The dark sugar's still in there, but it's a lot more subdued in this. I'm still getting a little bit of almond, but it's more of like an almond cookie. Still crazy smooth. A little bit of tannin to this one that wasn't in that one. But yeah, the brighter plum is definitely more present in this one than it was in that one. But it's still got that kind of warm, here's what I mean. Springtime and summer, for sure. These two, both of them, fall and winter. Definitely. I would take an entire bottle of this stuff, aged on birch, for a fall or a winter camping trip. Absolutely. This would definitely be something good to have by the fire. Just based on the kind of the dark sugars, I really think that some apple brandy aged on birch would be fantastic. Yeah, like crazy fantastic. I think we need to do that experiment. I think if you did apple or peach or apricot, stuff like that, those kinds of white brandies, and then aged them on birch, I think you'd have something spectacular. So let's look forward to doing that. I think that's a good use of our time. I am really happy I spent the time on this, and I'm happy that I waited. If you're hearing a bubbling sound occasionally throughout this video, that is because just below you is a 5-gallon bucket of something that I can't tell you about because it's going to be in next week's video. So, if you enjoyed this video, if you learned anything, do me a favor and hit the like button because it really helps out the channel. If you want to find out what I'm doing next week with the bucket of stuff that's bubbling right down there, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon right next to it. If you are not subscribed, I highly recommend you do it because you're going to want to see what I'm doing next week. Definitely. If you have any questions or comments about this, comment section down below. I'm going to go ahead and put a link for Glen Cairns. The amount of aromas that you can pick up is quite frankly breathtaking. And I'll also put a link to the guy that gave me the wood samples for the aging. All right, thanks for watching. Tune in next week. Talk at you later.
Oh, this you crazy mother.